Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is the man who has scoops on top of scoops on top of scoops. Every single Sunday, there's some story being broken that's shaking the NFL landscape, and it's all coming from one man and one man only. He graduated from the University of Michigan and then... Oh, there's a little echo there. I like that. Northwestern University. He's a long-time man on ESPN. If you want to know something in the NFL, there's only one man to go to, and that is Adam Schefter.
Wow, Pat, that is quite the introduction. I wish I had given you an introduction that kind and that grandiose when I had you on my podcast last week.
I wish the same. You deserve it, though, brother. Your name is synonymous with the NFL, and as a reporter, that's not easy to do, especially a scoops guy. You kind of flipped the game on its head when it got into the scoops game. How did you become the insider of all insiders when it comes to the NFL, Mr. Schefter?
Well, thank you for asking the question. Thank you for the kind words, Pat. I would just say I've never thought of myself like that. Honestly, I've just tried to do my job all the time, and it's 28 years in the business. I've been doing it since 1990. So anybody that does anything for a long period of time, I think, obviously, if they try to treat people the right way, you hope that the results are good. And all I've tried to do from the time that I covered high school sports, when I was in college and getting out of college, and is just, again, try to do the job the right way, work hard, and do all the work that some people might not be willing to do. And no skills, no talents, just a lot of longevity and a lot of reliability, I guess.
As a talentless person, I think you've done pretty damn good. I think the world has seen your hands at work. You got great hands. The jugs machine almost knocked you over, but you made the catch, people forget. I've seen gifs of you bobbling cell phones on studio sets, but you make the catch, by the way. So I don't think you're a talentless person. I think you have a lot of talent. I would like to ask you a quick question, though.
Yes.
As I was doing research on you, I had no idea that you were also a Northwestern University graduate. You only pub that you went to Michigan. Is there a reason for that? Do you hate Northwestern? Is this a breaking news? Adam Schefter doesn't respect Northwestern?
No, I love Northwestern. In fact, I went back there in 2014 and had the occasion to speak to the Medill School of Journalism. I went there for 1 year, Pat, and I had a great time there. I loved it. Michigan is my undergraduate school. I went there 4 years, and I have not hid from the fact that I go to Northwestern at all. I'm very proud of the fact. In fact, Northwestern has produced some of the most talented people at ESPN. Mike Greenberg, Michael Wilbon, Rachel Nichols, Cassidy Hubbard. They all went to Northwestern. I mean, it's just pumped out great reporter after great reporter. They do a great job there. It's just, again, I had 1 year there, and actually 3 months of it was spent in Washington, D.C., as an intern covering campaign finance reform, which reinforced my desire to go into sports. And at that point in time, I spent 9 months in Chicago, 3 months in a cockroach infested Evanston, Illinois, and then 6 months in a dorm in downtown Chicago. I love my time there. I am a proud Northwestern alum. I've always spoken about it, but I think people just think more closely of me with Michigan, because Michigan – I've had a lot of interaction with the school and love the place, and my son goes there, and so I don't know. I think that's how it's worked out.
Ah, jeez. Well, I appreciate that. That's a great answer.
So what are your thoughts on Syracuse? Is there a big Syracuse-Northwestern rivalry at ESPN? Because I think that's where everyone who works at ESPN is from, right?
Well, look, Syracuse has put out a tremendous amount of great broadcasters. I mean, you go through the list. Bob Costas went there.
Tirico.
I think Tirico went there.
Mm-hmm. The orange.
My boss Seth Markman went there, though the school quickly found out he didn't have any broadcasting talent and sent him into, producing and directing and other things like that. See, that's one of the skills of Syracuse. He can weed through that, and so when it comes across somebody like the great Seth Markman, it's listen, your future is not on air, sir. You need to manage people, not be reporting on people. And so he's the man that makes everything happen behind the scenes at ESPN with the NFL.
You've had an incredible run, breaking news stories that nobody expects. Obviously, when it comes to having inside information, there has to be some sort of pressure on you to kind of keep your sources happy and things like that. Have you ever had a situation where a source has said, like, I fucking hate you, Schefter, for doing that? Or is it always, is it a very kosher operation?
You know, that's a great question, Pat. I would say this. I would say this, that I am not a confrontational person. I don't care for it, enjoy it. Ask my wife. I don't think we've been married together for 12. I don't think I've picked a single fight with her. And she's feisty and fiery and combative, unlike me. So she's happy to have an argument every now and then. But when people get upset, and it happens regularly, it always bothers me. I don't like that. And as Mort and I have discussed, and people say, it comes with the territory sometimes. You're going to report on things, say things that open.
Oh man!
Hold
on. You cut out right there. You said you're going to say things and report on things and then it cut out as if it was a movie cutting out the most important part.
Well, as I was saying when I was so rudely interrupted by this cell phone carrier coverage, you're going to say things and report on things that sometimes people just don't like. It's part of the job. I don't think anybody's happy when you're reporting that they failed a drug test or being suspended or being accused of something unsavory. I mean, just these things happen. It's not enjoyable to talk about somebody losing their job, families being displaced. And these are, regular storylines in the NFL. And again, I think you just try to be fair about it. And if you can be fair, then you're doing your job, I think, the right way. But inevitably, sometimes people are going to be pissed off, Pat, pissed off.
I asked you on your show because I couldn't help it, because I never thought I'd get a chance to talk to you again. So I'm going to do it again on this show. The biggest story that you ever broke, and you gave me the next one, which is such a professional answer. But whenever I say, biggest story you ever broke in your head right there, some story just popped into your head right there. Something was like, oh, that one was.
You know what? Honestly, there's not a single story that I can give you or would rattle up. I think I would take more satisfaction in just the body of work of doing what I've done for 28 years. And it's a long time. And as somebody said, it's sort of like standing in a batting cage and the pitches just keep coming and coming and coming. And you just try to get your bat on the ball and get a single here and there. And so I don't sit back and say, oh yeah, I got that story, or I got that story, and reflect on that. I just not how I think. So while I understand why you're asking the question, I'm being honest. I tell you, the biggest story is the next one. But the bigger deal really is just that I've been fortunate enough to be able to do it for as long as I have. That means more to me than any single story.
Okay, so you can't tell us the biggest, but is there one that affected you maybe personally, or one that sticks out to you, something you connected with?
Just bring up the Jason Pierre-Paul story so we can ask you about it.
Also, what is the next one? What's the next one?
Just bring up the Jason Pierre-Paul one so we can ask you about it.
What do you want to know about it?
Like, what was the backlash on that? Because that took over the world. That changed the game, I think, for Inside Scoops, because people were like, well, now some hospital worker is leaking information. And then there was like, well, we got a BOFA. What is it called? Not BOFA.
HIPAA.
We got a HIPAA lawsuit. It took over the world. That story legitimately took over all aspects of the world, not just in football world. Took over everything. Is that not one that you think back, you're like, oh, that one was a wild one that you did not expect to go the way it went?
Well, that story. What's interesting when you think back on that one, that would not be one of my more favorite ones to talk about because of the controversy surrounding it and the ferocity and strength of opinions on both sides of the coin. Like, I remember getting texts that night from people around the league, and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you got that information," and other people were furious. I mean, there were players sounding off about it. Now, again, the backdrop to that, and what I think got lost in all this because it was controversial, was the fact that Jason Pierre-Paul at the time was the Giants' franchise player. They had put the franchise tag on him. He had not signed the tag. They didn't know when he was going to come in. They didn't know what the story was. And he has this fireworks accident down in Florida, which is very unfortunate for him. So he gets taken to the hospital with a hand injury. Everybody knows he got some sort of hand injury, but nobody knows exactly what the situation is. And the Giants didn't know what it was. The Giants sent down their trainer, Ronnie Barnes, and other people within the organization to try to go meet with him to figure out what the extent of the injuries were. And they were turned away at the hospital.
Oh.
So they were trying to get the answers as to what was going on. And all of a sudden, the situation unfolds, and I get this chart, just a chart that was saying that his finger was amputated. And again, I've talked about this before, and it's been misinterpreted. When I look back on it, I wish I had the chance to discuss it with my editors more than I did, to factor in what everybody had to say rather than just acting as a lone wolf guy. That was my regret, that I didn't have more discussions about it. But at the time, I didn't view it in that way. And so, we reported that he had his finger amputated. I used a chart that said it. Again, my sense was that, this wasn't like a guy that was taken to the hospital with some sort of mysterious illness. And I violate his privacy, but there are people who still feel I violate his privacy. We could debate that back and forth. But the information came out. He had his finger amputated, and fortunately, he's been able to bounce back and have a very good NFL career since then. How about that? Did I answer your question there, Pat?
Great answer there, Schefter. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I thought you were unfairly crushed on that. I mean, your job is to get inside information. That was the inside information of all inside information. You did your job literally to the highest ability that nobody else could do. And I thought nobody was looking at that. I thought it was, so I'm excited we brought it up. I assumed that there was something that you wouldn't want to talk about. In my head, though, I was like, yeah, that's his fucking job, is to get that type of stuff.
Well, we talked about it, and I told you basically the background, and it was quite an experience, the whole thing. I mean, everything about it from the day. It's funny because there are certain things that just brand themselves in your mind, and you cannot forget all the details. And I remember it was in July, and I'm in the backyard, and someone texted me this chart. I'm like, what is this? And I called around and spoke to various people to confirm there was a chart, that I was okay to use it, and ran it, and the fallout was what the fallout was, which was, again, very polarizing on both sides.
What's the rush like whenever you get a story like that? Like whenever so for instance, whenever I was punting, if I pin somebody deep, like at the one, I did my job, there's like a natural high. And whenever I do, when I do comedy, if I can get the entire place to be completely silent while talking and then completely upside down whenever I want them to do, there's like a natural high. It's like, oh, this is what we're doing. For you, whenever you get a home run sent to you, what is that feeling like for you? Is it just like you're trying to chase that feeling every single time?
You're not chasing that feeling, but you know that feeling well. And the feeling is one of excitement and adrenaline and anxiety, because, there's nothing worse than having something and then all of a sudden it's showing up elsewhere, like, oh man, somebody else has got it. And so, there have been stories I've gotten where you're working to confirm them or validate them, or a team wants to talk to a player first. Can you just wait 10 minutes till we get the player? Just little things like even this week. I mean, it's just a simple thing, right? This week had the story of one guy within the last couple of weeks. He's going to get released, and hey, texted the team, gave him a heads up. I'm going to report this, and one of the GMs was like, hey, can you just wait till I talk to the guy? I'm trying to reach the guy, and we haven't been able to tell him yet, and I don't want him to read about it. I'm like, I don't want to wait long here. I'll give you a few minutes, no problem. And they tracked down the guy and told him, and once they did, they're like, okay, we told the guy. I'm like, okay. And so that's that's what it's like sometimes. You have some of that. But in terms of any time we get a story, I don't think if it's a big deal, there's always the heart pounding sensation that you get. When the information comes in, you're like, oh my God, this is gonna happen. Oh my God, wow, wow.
So a lot of guys find out that they're cut from you. Like, that is something that is very normal. It's interesting to hear, though, that the GMs are like, hey, is there any way you can have us talk to him first? You're like, well, because it's not just you. It's the insiders all over the place that are like, because they get the information. I don't know who you guys' sources. I said this on your show. I have no idea who your sources are, but when I was on the team, I was learning things about the team that I was on from you, from a practice that I was standing at. So it was it was a very wild situation. It's very impressive.
I go back to that guy, the team that I texted, hey, just want to give you a heads up that I'm going to do this. And the text back was, that's BS. what did I do? Get the information, hey, and that brings us back to guys being upset. Now, if I had just gotten the information and spit it out, I think that guy would have been, really, really pissed off. And again, I can do whatever I want to do, right? I don't need him to approve it or sign up, but you want to be professionally courteous when you can.
Hey, why don't you guys hurry the fuck up? I'd like to break this. That's what you tell the GM. Hey, why don't you?
Yeah, go screw yourself, right?
When you speak to the students at the University of Northwestern's journalism school, what's the biggest piece of advice you give to those that are aspiring to have a career such as yours?
Well, you know what? First of all, I'm really glad I did it because, it's great to be in front of those kids. Plus, I always feel it's an obligation anytime you're asked to talk to somebody about going into the business and those requests come in, often. I'll talk to everybody, but I always say, hey, do me a favor and go back and Google my speech that I gave to the Northwestern, the Medill School of Journalism in 2004. Just Google it. It's a 70-minute speech, and there's probably going to be things in there that I say that I'm not going to say to you today. And so there's a lot of advice and information that's dispensed that almost has served me as, here's my little how-to video that you can just watch. Just go on nice. Google and YouTube it, but if I'm going to summarize, what I said there were a lot of things I said that day. I don't remember exactly what I said that day, but I think that, it comes back to just, again, working hard and doing the right thing and trying to treat people as fairly as you can and making yourself indispensable to the organization that you work for. And really, you hear people all the time, they say, I want to go to work for Major League Baseball. I want to work for the NBA. I want to work for a football team. And what I would say is just get in the door. Just get in the, I don't care if you're cleaning the mailroom and getting the boss's coffee or scrubbing the toilets. Just get in and do it. Because once you get in, then you've got an opportunity to be around all these people and to show them your worth and your value and your work ethic and what you can bring. And once you get that opportunity to get in the door, then you want to make it such that they can never let you go and that they have to have you.
That's beautiful. That's a really good piece of information. I don't think anybody should dream to work for a place that doesn't have people clean their own toilet.
I agree.
Okay, so the NFL is under a PR.
And if anybody wants to clean my toilet, I'm hiring an intern. Exactly.
The NFL has PR nightmare after PR nightmare, whether it's with the rules or off the field or anything like that. Have you heard any discussions from any of your sources about the rules with the Clay Matthews shit that's taking over the world, and every single thing that happens, they kind of take over the world with every little PR problem? Have you ever had have you had any discussions with any of your sources in the league about how they're going to fix the game and make it something that everybody can truly enjoy and kind of rally behind?
You know what? That's the issue du jour. Like right now, every year it's something else, and there are always complaints about the officiating, right? But last year, is it a catch? Is it no catch? Now, can you hit the quarterback? And I think what the league is trying to do, and so far to very mixed results, is they're just trying to be consistent right now. Like last weekend in week 4, you saw the roughing the passer penalties drop dramatically. I think there were 2 all weekend long. And I think they got a message across, hey, let's try to be smarter about this. Now, you still see the play like Arden Key bumping into Baker Mayfield and getting a call there that's like ridiculous. I mean, but again, I think as long as the league is trying to establish some consistency here from week to week, from game to game, from crew to crew, and I think that's part of the problem is that these officiating crews, each one's had its own ideas. And even Teddy Bruschi, who I worked with at ESPN, was espousing on NFL Live, and I thought it was a great point. He's like, if you're a defensive player, you need to know who the officiating crew is, and you need to study them just the way that you would study the opposing offenses so you know their tendencies. You'll know if a crew is calling a game tight that you can't hit the quarterback at all. You'll know if they're not calling it as tight that you can get some little jabs in on the guy. So it's important to know the tendencies of the officiating crew. That's where the league is at right now, but I think the league is just trying to be more consistent with this.
Okay, I respect that a lot. I appreciate you so much, Schefter. I very much appreciate you, man. Is there any big news?
And I appreciate you.
Anything you'd like to break on my show here, or any news that we should be looking forward to that's coming?
Breaking news: Pat McAfee has not given up the idea of one day punting in the NFL, but it would have to be the right opportunity at the right time with the right team, and then he'd be willing to turn his back on this fantastic media empire that he's created to go punt again in the NFL.
That's a good little breaking news you just had. Pretty accurate assessment right there. Schefter's podcast is really good, by the way. You were a great host the other day. I appreciate you for having me on. You're good at that.
Well, I appreciate you having me joining me on such short notice and being the great guest that you are. It was fun. It's you've done a great job at your next career if you ever decide not to go back to your old career. And there aren't too many people who could punt as successfully as you. And then podcast, as I said in the intro, punter turned podcaster.
Yeah,
you have other skills too, but that's a little bit alliterative, so it works out.
Oh, I like the P and the P there. Did you learn that at Northwestern or Michigan?
One of the both.
Respect. Ladies and gentlemen, the insider of all why do you and Florio hate each other? I just remembered this.
Well, where do you get that we hate each other from?
Well, I mean, not hate each other. What's the beef with you and Florio?
What have you seen me say about him?
Oh, okay. All right, there it is. All right, I appreciate that. I respect that answer. You just answered a lot of things there with that word right there.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the inside man of inside men, Michigan man, Northwestern grad as well. 70-minute speech. Go ahead and check that out on the Google. I can't wait to learn from you there. Check out his podcast. You can obviously see him on ESPN every single day with about 5 different phones handling all the business. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Schefter. Thank you, Chef.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate having me.
Thank you so much. You're really incredible in there, Adam.
I hope that worked out for you.
Yeah, it was great. I appreciate it, man. We'll send you a link.
Yeah, you got it, my friend.
Thank you.
Anytime you want. We'll be in touch, Pat.
You got it. See ya.
Take care. Bye-bye.